Hello, my name is James Prest. Today we're going to be talking about dealing with fear versus deleting it. You can view the notes for this presentation at avalanchetS.wordpress.com, and you can go to our article archives. I want you to know that I do have a Christian background, so when I give examples, they're going to be Christian-based backgrounds because that's my background. And if I speak plainly, don't just know that just because if you see things a little bit differently, that doesn't mean I discriminate or look down on you in any way. So we're going to be looking at fear. We're going to look at how it affects our physical, mental, and spiritual standpoint, how it affects us in those ways. So when it comes to our physical aspect, when somebody becomes afraid, they lose their dexterity of motion. They can't move with precision. They start fumbling. Some people begin to shake, or they start feeling weak. And if we were to imagine a hypothetical situation, we're in the woods, there's a bear there, we see it, and we're like, oh no, there's a bear. And we start running, and while we may have the boost of adrenaline to run faster, we may end up tripping over our own feet or running into a tree because we can't move our body as succinctly as we could if we were not afraid. So I just wanted to look at it from that standpoint. And there's other examples like, if somebody's attacking you or about to rob you, if you're scared, again, you lose your ability to move and function right. And so if you have a chance to do anything to get away, you may end up fumbling. Or a chance to defend yourself, you may end up, blocking the air and the guy hits you in the face. Fear has negative effects on your physical being in terms of your ability to function properly and move with dexterity. Another aspect is the mental. When somebody becomes afraid, it inhibits their ability to think clearly. They can't remember things right. If they're taking a test and oh, what was it? And of course there's time limits for the test. So I have 5 minutes. Oh, what was it? I can't think. And you're scared of failing the test and not remembering, and that gets in your way of actually remembering what to put down. And again, I know I said this already, but you can't think clearly. It becomes harder for you to think without this fear and these hormones going through your blood, and you get all whacked out. And you lose your attentive focus. It's very distracting because you always have this in the back of your mind. Like let's say you're afraid you won't get the job, or you're afraid your boss is going to be mad at something, and you're standing there and he's walking by and you're working and you're scared and you can't move right, and you can't think straight. Well, if your brain's not working right and your arms aren't moving right, you're going to mess up and get fired. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Don't be scared of that, obviously, or it might. But just to understand how fear affects your thinking process. You can't think clearly, you can't remember right, and your body already can't move right necessarily if you're scared. So it messes you up. Now, also, when I say fear, it's also including, where it applies, anxiety and worry and the mental stress of, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, things like that. Now let's look at the spiritual aspect of it. A spiritual life that calls for peace and tranquility, the calm assurance that God's in control, anything like that, fear will destroy that. You won't have peace because you're worried that this is going to happen, or you're afraid that that's going to happen, or you're anxious because of this, and you just lose it. And it's been scientifically shown in studies that stress does affect your health. It wears your body out, wears your minds out, and you can lose your longevity because you're always worrying. You actually wear out your life forces. So you don't want to, there's no point of worrying, no point of being scared. And if you do have a Christian background, if you've read the Bible says, fear not. I don't know how many times, be not afraid, this, that, and the other. And so if you're scared, you're not really following that instruction. So yeah, that's not quite what you should be doing. Another thing I want to mention, we covered the 3 different aspects, but this often comes up in everyday life. A lot of times people tell me, well, what if this happened, James? What if that happened, James? Well, what if it does? Is being worried about it going to help the problem? Scared, scared, fear, it's going to help anything? No. It's going to inhibit my ability to move with dexterity. It's going to becloud my thinking process, and so I can't think straight. That's not going to help you anything. So yes, what if it happens? We should have a plan, we should have something. But if that what if thought is gonna make you scared, maybe you shouldn't entertain it so much. Do be prepared. I'm not saying it's wrong to be prepared and stuff, but well, let me just give you an example. Somebody told me, they said, because they were trying to get me to do all these things so I could get a big job and make lots of money and so on and so forth, which is not a bad thing of itself. But they're like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if your car breaks down and you can't get to your job, and because you can't get to your job, you can't work and make money, and now your family's going to suffer because you didn't have a plan, and la 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 la. And that may be true, and we should take these things in consideration. But the problem is, it was almost like they were using like, well, what if this happens? What if that? And they were like trying to scare me into doing things the way they wanted me to do them. Well, if you live in a what if world, well, what if the tree falls on the house? Or what if, yes, if the tree looks like it might fall on the house, cut it down, be wise. But don't live in this continual state of worry. Some people live in this state of worry. They're always afraid somebody's going to break into their house. Don't be scared about it. Lock your doors. Do whatever you need to do to keep yourself safe, but don't go nuts. Don't be afraid. If somebody breaks into your house and you're scared, what's going to happen? You can't think straight, and you're all scared, and you can't move right, and you're going to trip over your own feet, and you're going to dial 811 instead of 911. Don't be scared of it. When you're scared of something, it's actually admitting in your own mind that whatever you're scared of has power over you. And if you do that, if you admit that in your mind, by being scared, note that, by being scared, by being afraid, you're admitting that thing you're afraid of has power over you. And when you do that, your body will respond accordingly. If you believe you're going to lose, if you believe you're doomed, your body's going to act like you're doomed. It's going to go paralyzed, or it's not going to, you just won't put as much into it because you're doomed. It's pretty simple. Your mind gives up, and so your body gives up, because the body affects the mind, and the mind the body. So when it comes to actually fixing the problem, I see articles once in a while, things in newspapers or online about stress, books, things like this. And they always talk about how to deal with stress, or managing your stress levels, or something like this. And it always bugs me, because I don't manage stress, I don't manage fear, I don't deal with this stuff. I just am not scared, and I don't worry. It's real simple. And I want to show you how you can actually be able to do that yourself. But why deal with it when you could delete it? And that's actually the name of this presentation and the article that I have on the website. But there's no point. Why deal with it when you can delete it? Why fight an enemy when you can actually just push the delete button and he goes bye-bye? Now, when it comes to actually getting rid of fear and not worrying and not stressing about something, you have to understand a few things. One, fear originates in the mind. Like for instance, you feel something on your foot and you look down, it's a spider, and you're like, oh, it's a spider. Well, it was when you realized in your mind it was a spider, or you didn't know what it was, maybe you didn't see it, you just like, oh, freaked out because you don't know what it is. It happens in your mind first, and you feel it in your body. Yeah, so just understand that. Now, the battle against fear is an entirely mental battle. It's not physical. You're not going to grunt and tense your muscles, or fight it, fight fear. It's not going to work. Fear is an entirely mental battle, and this is how you win. when you're under the temptation or pressure to feel scared, or maybe you already feel scared, you're already worried about it. What you need to do is you need to choose to believe that you're not. And it's basically all you're doing is choose not to be scared, choosing not to be worried. But when you choose to believe that you're not, I say that because it helps clarify it in people's minds. I don't know exactly how, but it does. But you just choose to believe that you're not. When you do that, the mind has an effect on the body. Now, as soon as you feel scared or worried, and you are like, okay, I'm not going to be scared or worried, as soon as you choose that you're not, insist that you're not, and believe that you're not, that makes it true that you're not. Because you're not controlled. Fear doesn't have power over you. Fear, you're only afraid when you choose to be. And so as soon as you believe you're not scared, you're not scared. You may feel scared because you may have hormones running through your body, you may have adrenaline or whatever it is. You may still feel scared. But if you choose to believe you're not, then you're not scared. And when you do that and you hold on to that, you continue to stick to that choice, choose to believe you're not scared. It affects the body, and eventually the feeling of fear or worry or anxiety or stress will wear off. Now maybe that'll come back, the thought will come to your mind again, oh, scared, oh, worried because of the test or whatever. But keep doing that. And when you get in the habit of realizing, well, choosing first to not be afraid, and realizing that because you're choosing to not be afraid, that you're not afraid, you get in the habit of just, you're not going to be scared. You're not going to be manipulated by fear. You're not, and you're going to be able to think straight, you're going to be able to remember right, and you're going to be able to type the keys and spell what you're trying to spell without getting all kinds of symbols on there, because you're not scared. And that's what we want. And I've done this, I've learned to do it, it's become a habit, so I don't get worried, I don't get stressed, and I don't get afraid. It just doesn't happen. And that's pretty much how you do it. It's not anything difficult. It's pretty simple. Now, you start to get afraid, you choose to believe that you're not, and understand then that you're not because you're choosing that. You may still feel it because of things running through your bloodstream and so forth, but that will eventually get cleared out and you'll be just fine. Now, in quick summary of this, fear destroys one's ability to think clearly, to move with dexterity, and to be at peace. It does almost nothing to help the present situation, and generally always makes the situation worse. If nothing else, it just makes the situation more unpleasant. Fear is illogical, unreasonable, and irrational. It doesn't make any sense. And I also wanted to point out that fear is the #1 tool used by tyrants, because fear is a very powerful emotion. It paralyzes the mind and body, mind control, if in our last series of presentations. You can't think. If you can't think straight, you're likely to get brainwashed and to get controlled. And it's very powerful. People can be scared into doing anything if they really buy into this idea that they're scared of whatever it is. To keep that in mind, because I don't want you all to be controlled by tyrants or anything like that. Now, last thing, if your fears and worries end up coming true, they were right, the people that were talking, well, then they were right. I assure you that being afraid and worrying about it would not have helped avert the problem. It would only make it more certain that the problem would come to pass and the bad stuff would happen. Why? Because you're not going to be thinking straight, you're not going to be moving clearly to avert the problem. And so it just makes the situation worse. Again, fear is illogical, unreasonable, and irrational, and so when you start to get afraid, you remember that, because it's not going to help you. Again, my name is James Prest. Thank you for listening. You can view the notes for this presentation on avalanchets.wordpress.com under our article archives. Thanks for watching.